gonna kill somebody that's already dead.
It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. It's because of men like you that all must be destroyed. None of those risks have been seen, at least not by anyone who still remains alive.
Oh, hi. You caught us touching each other from miles away. Welcome to Tangents, where we go off on things. This will be fun. This is the second episode of the most amazing music show you're not watching. Welcome. With me, of course, are my beautiful co-hosts, Justin Smith and Das Kreestof. Justin hails from the beautiful city of Chicago. What are you up to, Justin?
Not a whole lot, man. Got some new gear, and it's working that into this project I'm doing. But other than that, just recovering from my foot injury and trying to enjoy what's left of Chicago's winter.
Your rack looks nice. Nice rack, Justin.
Yeah,
that's new.
This is the magical Vesa mount with the rack adapter. That was a little artistry, I have to tell you. And when I say that, I mean it's a colossal pain in the ass. But when we finally got it sorted out, it was good.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, no, it sounds friggin' beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm of the opinion that it's one of my probably forever keepers.
So what is that new piece of gear that's sitting up there?
Oh, this is the Iridium.
No, the Iridium, you say.
Yes.
Fascinating. Is that the Waldorf Iridium?
It is, in fact, the Waldorf Iridium.
Well, my stars.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing, man. It's funny because I don't want to get into it too much of a tangent.
Why not?
Before we even gotten started. But you can tell by in the sound banks, there's like Howard Scarr and like a lot of the same people that do like Arturia's presets,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's like a whole bank of just Richard Devine ones.
Of course.
I still have a picture of the back of his head, but
I still remember when we saw Richard Devine walking sadly down the street at Moogfest in the rain, looking like Charlie Brown with his modular dragon behind him.
I do recall.
Yes, you can almost hear like the sad do 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 music playing in the background.
I'll tell you what, he does presets on so much weird crap that I apparently buy, like Object Delay, which I'm giving away as one of my secret weapons. But he has a whole bank in there. And what's great about Richard Devine is his stuff is deliciously really unusable.
Yes.
But you can always dial it into something sensible, and it's kind of creative.
And apparently, if like you just throw him like a bag of peanuts, he'll make like 50 presets for you, which is nice of him. Really. Thanks, Richard.
Dude, he did a fucking Timberwolf commercial.
I remember that.
He can never live it down.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, he will grease up anything, and we've got to respect him for that. Moon
Do you
8
remember
Moonhouse,
that one?
thank you for joining us this evening. Sorry, Justin?
He was all connected to his room full of modular with that thing.
I know. He's sitting there with the Timberwolf. This thing's amazing. No, it's not.
Yeah. You know when you're getting paid.
Shoes?
What's that, Kreestof?
Timberwolf for his shoes?
No, the Timberwolf, the Akai Timberwolf.
Oh, yeah.
The epic out-of-tune failure, whatever monosynth thing they did.
Yes.
Is this after Akai went bankrupt and then got bought out by the company that owns Newmark and they started putting out new products?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was after their MPC renaissance, but I think before their new standalone MPC. So it was in that weird little in-between time when they were just searching for a revenue stream. And I think the Mini Brood had been released, and I think they saw an opportunity.
Yeah, they're trying to jump on the affordable analog monosynth world.
Yep.
And then they released the Rhythm Wolf as well.
Yes.
And that was just as good.
You know, when we were kids and they used to give away little toys like at Burger King, like if they put a Timberwolf in my bag, you know, I would be so sad.
I would still throw it away.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I'll take the My Little Pony next time.
Yeah, I'll take the Magic Tricks instead. The little box one with the
or like the Cracker Jack temporary tattoo. Which is
oh dear, yes.
Yeah. Kreestof, what's new in your world? What's going on?
Well, I'm really proud of the injury I gave to Justin.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad you fucking broke his foot. That was awesome.
yeah, he had it coming. He knows what he did.
Right?
And And right now I'm trying to kill whatever's making my laptop fan go berserk.
I'm just imagining that that's really just the sound of your dirigible that
It's my artificial heart.
that you're currently in.
So, behind that screen is like a steampunk wonderland with the dirt.
Yeah. in your Cyclops pilot Manuel.
Oh my gosh.
Of course.
Manuel, gain altitude. Fill the ballast. Prepare the air bladders.
Oh my gosh.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Ick Studios. Thanks to Ick Studios, we'll be giving away an album by Ick Studios later tonight, so make sure you listen in. Continue listening and watching us as we yammer and discuss things and go off on tangents. Vodka tastes better in an Ick Studios mug. Anyway. So, Kreestof, you got the Fauci ouchie, yeah?
Yes, I got my first dose of the Pfizer vaccine yesterday.
As did I.
So I got so I have a slight metallic taste in my mouth, a headache, and the microchip is not working yet.
My 5G is excellent right now.
Nice.
As you can see, it helped the lighting in the room. And I'm 55% more sexually attracted to the opposite sex. Attracted to the opposite sex. Not attractive to it.
Although, I mean, I don't think the microchip's working, but I do welcome our robot overlords. Hail, robot overlords.
When didn't we, really? I mean, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Actitat, welcome.
Know.
Justin, did you get your Fauci ouchie yet?
Man, I don't want to say bad things about my fair city, but Chicago's kind of crazy with that right now. There's just a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
If I lived in rural Illinois, I'd have a good chance, but I'm looking at April at this point.
I
was too, and I got bumped up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they bumped us up pretty quickly and pretty early. And the process was very efficient. So I will say good job, Cuyahoga County Board of Public Health. Surprisingly efficient, given that they generally aren't. But yeah, so that's good.
There was a funny debacle here about them trying to do it downtown.
Oh, I can imagine. Where were they trying to do it at?
I don't recall. I was hoping it would be like Wrigley Field, which isn't too far from me, but it's not. And the funny thing is, people were like, well, how are we going to get there? Because we don't want to get on the train. Right. And so people were like, well, the city at one point pondered the idea of buying Ubers for people, to which people were like, yeah, I really want to ride share with someone I don't know for like an hour to get there. That sounds like a safe choice.
Right? That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, they're doing like free parking downtown for folks and stuff like that because they turned the Walstein Center into a mega jab. So
yeah, someone told me that. Was it you? Maybe you told me that. But that's good. Mm-hmm. That's good.
I went out to Tri-C because they're doing it out there too, and they'll actually just pull up in your car and they'll shoot you up.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. It's like hype.
Wow, they're doing observations here where they're forcing people into observation rooms.
Oh, you have to sit in your car for 15 minutes afterwards and they check up on you. But yeah.
So it's like going to an A&W basically.
Yeah, kind of, or like Swenson's.
Yeah, except the stabbing is a little less lethal than it typically is at Swenson's. But other than
this is stabbing pain in your gut after those gigantic milkshakes. Batty. So, Kreestof, are you working on anything interesting?
Just working on tomorrow's Spy Club, and I'm gonna try to introduce some new OBS and Twitch features.
Awesome.
But not thrilling. Yeah.
Awesome. As you can see, and the timer just popped up at the right time. The advertisement for Spy Club.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I didn't put you. I need to actually edit that because I didn't actually put the link to the to Spy Club on there. But follow Dust Kreestof.
But I can type it.
Yeah, there you go. Just give yourself a shout out, and then that should take care of that. Well, I'll make sure that I actually put the link on there next time. Sorry.
Doesn't matter. So what are people going to do? They're going to click on the link and leave.
That's a good point.
Midstream.
Just start following Dust Kreestof.
Just save that link for later, or open in a new tab.
Yes. Follow Dust Kreestof. He'll do you no wrong.
But, only if you like the industrial. Otherwise, it's not for you.
Even if you don't like the industrial, it still might be for you. I'm just saying.
It is full of spite. If you also have full of spite,
Yeah, if
then
you're
yes.
angry, you'll love that show.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. I'm angry all the time.
Yeah.
Feel their age. Anyway, so yeah, I've been. Actitech says industrial means something different where I'm from. Okay,
Where are you from? Actitech?
Actitech is from the Netherlands, I believe.
All right. So what I mean for industrial, well, so where he is, I guess he means test department and Throbbing Gristle and stuff like that, correct? So, but I play Throbbing Gristle and test department.
You also play like some EBM
yeah.
stuff and that kind of thing. Some free jazz.
So I have a 40-year range of what I play.
A little bit of light jazz.
No jazz.
Johnny Hates Jazz. Whole set of Johnny Hates Jazz.
20 jazz great hits.
I just got that on vinyl recently.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Right. So I still have the what the hell is that? The wave sequence thing, that Korg wave state synth, and I still haven't gotten a chance. I still haven't gotten a chance to do anything like that with it because I've been incredibly busy. I've got the subharmonicon coming in tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna have to figure all this stuff out because I think I'm gonna be doing the next Synthfest Easter weekend, and I'm going to theme it up appropriately for Easter.
Nice.
So,
I look forward to seeing what that manifests itself.
I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that should be. It'll be fun. So, I'll put the announcements out on the usual places and stuff like that, and it'll be good time. Zombie Jesus possibly might be even kinkier. Who knows? I might just be like making a rabbit costume out of foam rubber or something. I don't know. I haven't even figured it out yet, really.
Well, Jody might be able to help you with the rabbit costumes.
I think Jody has a few rabbit costumes, if I remember correctly.
That's kind of what I'm in.
There you go.
A slight modification, and you'd be all good.
Hey,
to
I
go,
can
man.
fit into Jody's stuff. Come on now. I mean, I can fit in your old pants now, buddy boy.
I know.
Anyway, so yeah, got that going on. Still waiting on the incredible machinations and talents of Adam Boost to finish up getting the mastering studio up and running. So that way I can get the Incrementum album mastered and stuff like that. Going to be recording vocals for the next Plasma Blackout album next month as well. So that'll be exciting. All the music is pretty much done with that. I'm pretty excited to see where that's going to go because it's gotten a lot like more spiteful and stompy with the next album.
And the Plasma Blackout you recorded in February for the challenge.
Correct. Yeah, that was RPM challenge.
So you're just adding the vocals and mastering them.
Yeah. So I wrote all the music for RPM challenge where you write an entire album of music in the month of February, and I ended up doing it in 8 days because I decided the last minute to do it because I'm dumb. So got that going on.
Nothing like a deadline to motivate.
I know,
you
right?
though, man.
Totally. And then, like, hopefully, by June, maybe Justin can come out to Cleveland. He'll be a little bit better off, and maybe we can do some live jams and stuff like that for folks.
That would be fun.
Indeed, it would be. And then maybe get Kreestof out here one of these days, and we can do some like naughty, dirty co-DJing. Maybe put some tunes together or something too. If Kreestof ever left his house,
I might leave my house someday. We'll see. Yeah. I got to see if I can unweld my doors.
Well, we just start digging the tunnel to get to my place. You'll be fine.
So, like, speaking of like how fast you did that album, I remember when I was in college, there was this guy, and he had released a couple of techno albums, and he just told me he never put more than 3.5 hours into an album.
Wow.
So, but he was largely just twisting knobs in a 303, and with the techno, it's like, how long did it take you to write the drum beat? 2 seconds.
Yeah, just push those 4 buttons.
And the variations? No variations. What key is it? None of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We don't like variations around here.
I think like doing the live streaming improv stuff and then doing the improv stuff with Spooky Action at Distance has definitely been very helpful for working very quickly in writing music, because I
sure.
can't stop thinking like that now. Where it's like I have to think on my feet all the time, and I have to write as quickly as possible, even if it's just like I'm just going to sit here and jam. No, I must write something. You know.
Yeah, it's very impressive how you can improv 2 hours of music like that.
It's extremely exhausting to do that too.
I'll bet.
Like all I want to do is go to bed afterwards.
I imagine your adrenaline must just pour through you.
Yeah.
To a point after you're just completely spent.
Yeah, pretty much. Like even more than when you and I get together.
Much more.
So, yeah, now that we put that uncomfortable moment in there for everybody. Hopefully everyone can hear us okay. I forgot to do a sound check with the audience.
No, it wasn't like that. We were wrestling, like men.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. That was Barton Fink, right? Yes. One of my favorite Coen Brothers movies.
Nice.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
I'll show you The Life of the Mind.
Yeah.
It's so good. Moonhouse hasn't streamed in months because I'm trying to finish up RPM. Well, then don't finish RPM, Moonhouse. Stream. I miss Moonhouse's streams. Can we get a shout out for Moonhouse, by the way? Because that guy, if you're not following Moonhouse, you should. I can't type. Why can't I type?
Oh, did you put in the command?
Yeah, I know. I'm just.
Okay.
Yeah, can you give him a shout out?
Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, because Moonhouse does a great job. Amazing work with modular, and he's got this really cool camera operation system that you can use, that you can go with on in the chat. You can control his cameras.
Oh, that is cool.
Just really, really slick stuff. Great guitar work and everything like that too. He's just like an amazing musician. I'm gonna go off on that. And speaking of amazing musicians, also if we could toss a shout out for Actitect as well, because another amazing individual who does great work with a number of his acts as well. Tune in for his stuff too. Yeah, so we've got some music news to cover and talk about and go off on tangents about, that we are going to do some of that whole lovin' from the oven kind of thing. So first of all, Izotope and Native Instruments merging, becoming one gigantic monster beast of plugins and audio instruments and DJing equipment and stuff like that. Now, Kreestof, you had posted this piece of news.
I had. So, so they're merging. They're going to release products, and it makes sense because something that's missing in the Native Instruments line is mastering tools. Mm-hmm. You know, they've got some, good effects, but they don't have a full suite. And so now that Native Instruments has been bought out by another company, they've got resources again. And I guess this makes sense. And their goal is to release more of a total platform for people to use. And they've got that sort of with the machine, as a sequencer, and then using the Native Instruments that it can load, which is, the funny thing is, machine is not fully compatible with all of the Native Instruments products.
Right.
And you have to jump through hoops to make it work with them. But still, they're offering something in that realm, but still for their effects and mastering, it's not as full-fledged. Whereas, Izotope has been well known for their effects and their mastering for a very long time as kind of a standard. So yeah, they're going to be offering that as at least for a subscription model, and I think also for a paid model. Mm-hmm. So, but my concern is always that software is going to go to subscription models, which I think everybody hates.
Yeah, well, everybody except the people that are selling the subscriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother. I think that's another thing on our news list.
Yeah.
I'll reserve my subscription rant for that.
Hey, Beta Units, thanks for joining us this evening. I love Beta Units. He saves Alex Rogan every week. Yeah, and I think that what's interesting to me is I didn't know that Izotope pretty much cut their teeth on cell phone stuff, because they were responsible for a lot of noise reduction in cell phone microphones originally. That's what they came up. That was the thing that gave them money.
Weird.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, because they've got Eric Persing, the famous Eric Persing, who worked on the original Wave Station or one of those things. He did presets for a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, fascinating dude, fascinating company. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't use the crap out of their stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
I think their vocal synth stuff is actually a little secret weapon too. It's real good. But yeah, nothing but quality from them. I mean, NI I'm on the fence about. I use them and I like them. Okay, but I almost feel like this. I don't know. It's kind of asymmetrical in a way because NI is a bigger company probably, I would guess, and but Izotope is maybe more boutique, right?
Yes and no. I think. I mean, they're giants in their industry. I think
that's true. Which is a microcosm,
right? Which is a small industry, but it's still
How many teenagers have Machina in their basement? Compared to Izotope tools. Yeah. But still, you're right. I wish them well. I mean, I don't really know. I don't have an opinion about the monetary relationship, but hopefully they'll cross-pollinate. Yeah.
Well, I think in the press release they did say they're going to still operate independently, and that is what you desperately want. Because once that stops, the product usually craps out and dies and gets discontinued pretty quickly.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah, read like a Venn diagram kind of, where like you'd have Izotope products here, and then NI ones here, and then something in the middle.
But when you do have some integration with Native Instruments and you can buy it through the NI store, I think that's a real boom for your product and helps reach a much bigger audience. For example, the people that make Heaviosity and Damage, because you can get that through Native Instruments and through deals, I'll bet you that was really profitable arrangement for them. And even my V collection, I got it through a deal that they had gotten through that I got through Native Instruments.
Wow!
Where they had a partnership.
What's the deal with Yuhi? Do they have something going on with Native Instruments? I know that they've got Incast stuff for like some of the.
I think they just know that you want to be able to support those controllers and that environment, but Yuhi, I believe, is still completely independent.
Okay, that's good. And I just saw something that made it look like we're tightly integrated now. That's cool. I mean,
yeah.
So
it's really hard to release a standard like VST or NKS and get support for it.
Sure.
And they got, and Yuhei, I guess, decided to support it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I outside of Tractor, I don't really use anything by Native Instruments. I think it's because like a long time ago, I got, I think it was Contact, and it was such a bear on my computer. I just stopped using it, and then just never bothered with them anymore after that. And I know that they're like an industry standard for a lot of like, sample playback and stuff like that, especially for like composers and stuff like that. But
they are. They kind of filled the void that Giga Sampler left.
Yeah, exactly. But I could that just left the worst taste in my mouth, and I never bothered to get anything by them ever again except for Tractor. And Tractor is great, works great, does what it says in the package,
So yeah, I've been using Tractor since it was in beta. But for me, actually, what introduced me to Native Instruments was Reactor. And so Reactor before that was two different products, Generator and Transformator.
Right.
And they combined those into Reactor. And Reactor is my desert island synth.
Wow.
So if I could have just one thing, that would be it, because it does everything.
That's what I understand, yeah. That's kind of how I feel about Omnisphere.
It's like Pure Data or Max, but easier. But not that much easier.
Right.
But easier, yeah.
But yeah, so they also, the idea of Izotope going into a subscription service as an option for their stuff.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about subscription services, because I use some subscription services. I've been, and I know Justin, you do now as well with Personas, with the with Studio One.
Yeah, I also still have a rolling cloud, and the reason, I say I really mixed feelings about it. Like, I mean, there's like 3 points I would make. One is this sort of like current cultural consumer mentality of sort of more than ever sort of throwawayism, I guess. And so in a way, you know, a subscription service is just another thing that you can cancel, no big deal, no big investment. Which, if that's your paradigm, makes perfect sense.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't critique anybody per se, but I do feel in a way that I'm a little old school. I do want to, things that I really care about, I want to own, such that of the Roland stuff, because I have some of their plug outs, because I have the System 8, I actually own outright some of that stuff. And so that's the stuff I really care about, and everything else is just, you know, it's just fun. Like, oh, I'll install the JD800. I may never use it, but it's fun to play with.
Right.
You know, and I can justify like their cost, which is actually a little high. But yeah, I mean, in general, I wouldn't want the world to go this way. I always want to have an option, and I want companies to be customer and musician focused rather than capitalism focused. Not that I'm necessarily dinging capitalism. I'm just saying, you know, I think it's better to deliver to your customers what they want, because you'll end up with a loyal customer base.
Well, I think.
And if some of,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I know. I just worry that the over commoditization of this could be negative. You know.
I think that one of the advantages of the subscription model kind of thing, and this is the important thing about it, is that this is kind of like what I'm thinking. What I think about this is this is kind of like the Patreon of companies, right? If they're going to do subscription-based stuff, then I better be getting more out of it than if I was just buying a copy of the product. And I think that, like, Presonus is, I'm going to use them as an example because they're really good at this. When you get your Presonus subscription, you get access to a lot of stuff. And you are constantly getting access to new things. Like, every month they give you more plugins and more, like, sound banks. And they have, like, if you go to your Persona Sphere account, they give you like all these videos on how to do things and these live streams and stuff, these Q&As with the programmers and the developers, as well as like the product specialists and blah, 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 about how to do things and stuff like that. So you get this certain, more of a community kind of feel, like a Patreon kind of thing. Whereas if you're going, like, if you're getting like an Adobe subscription is worthless. I mean, I'm sorry, other than the fact that you're getting a new copy of Adobe every year, that's all you're getting. You know, you're not getting.
Yeah, you make a good point.
You're not getting a community kind of build up kind of thing.
Well, one of the attractions too is, just like you said, the breadth and depth of what they offer, right? So the Izotope one looked different to me because there's a lot of those tools that I won't use on the regular, like their mastering. You know, I don't want to learn how to master. I really don't. Therefore, yeah, but we'll do it in a pinch. And so that would make perfect sense. But
counter to that, you look at a product like Apple Logic, which is $199 and you buy it and that's it. But they keep putting stuff out for it as well. It's not as community driven or anything like that, but they're like, oh, here's a new, here's a new synth. Here's this and here's that. Here's this whole, here, we just changed how this all works. And here you go, stuff that you would be paying, for an upgrade version of it, $300, $400 for, more if you're, buying Waves every 6 months because, there's a point release in your operating system and Wave stops working, but you have to pay for the upgrade. Then they're just giving that to you. So
no, I do like Waves, and I like their products, but I do not like their business model. It's absolute garbage that they're constantly like, oh, you want the next version? By all means, buy it at full price.
I stopped using Waves because that business model pissed me so much. Like when it was like, oh, you want the 64-bit model? Well, you got to buy the upgrade.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck?
And what you guys are discussing now is exactly why I know so many people are ditching computers and going DOS. So, and I don't want to go that route because I love my computer stuff, but my Kurzweil still runs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My MS-2000 still does a great job,
Yep, and my software from 20 years ago, almost none of it runs.
Your copy of Rebirth doesn't run anymore.
And the problem with renting stuff is, like, I can't load old projects on something that was rented before, and I don't know if they're going to continue it. Just like I converted all my stuff to Sear Systems Reality, and of course they stopped making it. and now nothing. No, so I can't open it. I can't run it on a modern operating system. And so I got into a debate this week about obsolescence and what is obsolete. And for me, obsolete means you can't run it anymore. Just like my eMagic MIDI interface and my M audio interfaces that don't have modern drivers. And I feel this is the same risk with the rented software, where like if you're a professional, like Ken Marshall has done a video about this, where he locks a computer, like after a certain time, he just locks it and he buys new licenses for everything. That way, if he needs to go back to these old projects, he can take that computer out of storage and load the old software, the old licenses, and get going. But with the subscription model, are those activation servers going to still be around? Are they still going to activate it?
Yeah.
For example, have you ever tried to run, do you guys have Arturia? Have you tried to run your V2 versions of the software? They won't. You have to run V3. And that's really dangerous with these models. And that kind of frustration, or what you were saying, you get an incremental upgrade to your OS, and all of a sudden, none of your software works. And I have some of my favorite plugins won't run under 64-bit.
Right.
And I can use a wrapper for now, but for how long? And that's just a nightmare. And I see, like, this is why so many people are like, nope, I want all hardware. I don't want to deal with this nightmare. And the area that's like the biggest struggle for people is that there are no really strong samplers compared to the way there used to be. So there's nothing out like the ESI 4XT Turbo. You can get really powerful 16 voice, but nothing like that. If the K2700 is out, that's going to be the only one in a long time. There are workstations that have sampling in them, but you can't sample with them. You can only load them with the computer, so you're still not DAW-less. But the 2700 will be the first one to hit the market that's a high polyphony workstation sampler in years. So because the software market just destroyed that industry.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was stuff like Contact, Giga Sampler, and stuff like that.
So on the chat,
Giga Sampler now, it won't run.
Yeah, in the chat. First of all, Matt Smith, hi, thanks for the hosting, and welcome, and thanks to Actitech for managing the shout out for Matt Smith, another amazing musician. He is another one of the Deluge Bros. Represent. Actitech talked about the 1010 Music Black Box coming a long way. He moved away from computers and stuff like that.
Voice, right?
Well, I mean, and I'll agree, Actitech to a degree, but at the same time, I have some 1010 hardware that they stopped supporting when they came out with the new the version 3 stuff. So it's like I can't load any of the stuff on my toolbox anymore. That kind of thing, because they just said nope, done, and that's a $600 module that I'm now stuck at a certain point with. Because
that's something I like about Deluge. Deluge, tells you right on their website, buy this if it does want right now.
Yeah.
Don't buy for future features. If it, we're not going to tell you what we're planning because we don't want you to buy for that. Buy for what it does right now. But yeah, my friend Jeff has a black box, and he liked it because people love it for its workflow, but it doesn't have the polyphony of like the units that we had 20 years ago. And that's my point. Like when you want, if you're doing really complex layered drums with tails, you need polyphony, and there's no good options right now.
Yeah, I mean the Dig Attack, you can do 8 voices on that. That's
8, not 128.
Yeah, not 128, but 8, and I mean the Deluge, you can sample as much as you want on as much as that puppy will hold.
The Deluge is one of them. I mean, Deluge is 64, right?
Yeah.
That's I told my friend Jeff that he should use that.
Oh, I know Jeff.
But the S4000, the S5000, the S6000, all high polyphony, good units. So,
bitch to program.
Yeah, but of course, what the Deluge doesn't have is multiple outputs.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is kind of a professional feature.
Absolutely.
That you wouldn't need.
But
I wonder though. I mean, because if you think about that time period, the sampler workstations, and we talked about this last time with the Insonic products. To me, the EPS and the ASR 10 weren't just wicked samplers with good effects units. I use them to do all of my sequencing and song composition. And they were hugely flexible for the time, at least from my perspective.
The ASR 10 is still an incredible controller, too, though.
Oh,
I'd buy it just as a controller because the polyphonic aftertouch on that is the best I've ever used. Not that I've used a ton of them.
Sure.
But But yeah, it's great.
Well, the question is, will somebody? I mean, because Deluge to me, it's still kind of. I mean, I guess you could hook up a keyboard to it and do stuff with it. But that in that vein, I wonder if someone will say, "Hey, there's a need for DAW-less jamming that's truly workstation sophisticated." Right. I mean, I wonder if and that includes like a keyboard for those of us who care about that. And I just wonder. I wonder if that's because I agree with the obsolescence of computers. But for me, it's just I'm kind of an assumption that that's a thing, and I treat my DAWs as almost a throwaway because I know that I'm going to have to. I mean, stuff that I've done from just a few years ago, to your point, I can't do anymore because it's either incompatible or the company's gone or whatever.
Or I let my Bitwig license expire.
Yeah. Sometimes, or sometimes you can't activate that software anymore because they've taken their activation servers down.
Yeah.
So there is one area where I say that you can't beat DAWs right now, and that's if you don't have a $60,000 studio just for recording, nothing's going to beat your DAW. You know, the EQ, the plugins, the quiet noise floor, the amount of compression you can get. Yeah, you can buy like a $4,000 unit that does it all without a computer, and they're just not nearly as good as what you can get for a couple $100 of software and a $300-$400 audio interface. It's just going to blow it away.
And the immediacy and the freedom of being able to do things at home.
Much easier. Yeah.
You know?
No, I think everything has its place for sure. I like outboard stuff a lot, but I also like my DAW. I like in the box.
Yeah, I like the DAW, but I feel like I'm renting it all, and I don't know how long it's going to work.
Yeah,
totally.
If it get done now, it's got to get done now, because otherwise, in a couple of years, it's probably not. None of this is going to work. You know, that's true for like so much stuff I've written in the past. I can't load it anymore. I can't modify it because of software issues.
Yeah, I mean, really.
And right now, I can't mix. I can't record in or out because the OS doesn't support my audio interfaces or my MIDI interfaces.
So your hardware is more like a house, and your software is more like a car.
Matt Smith says Deluge to me is a jamming sketch tool for MIDI and sampling. If I'm recording the DAW, makes way more sense. Yeah. I mean, I recorded the first Plasma Blackout album. I sequenced the whole thing and everything like that, and did it all with just the Deluge. And dumping that into the DAW for mixing, let me tell you, was a pain in the ass because it only had the two outputs.
It doesn't. There's no stem export.
No, well, there's experimental stem export that people have created that is software wise, but it only works with Reaper, and I don't use Reaper. So, but yeah, visual editing, absolutely, that is one of the things that that DAWs are great with. You know, timeline based stuff. But even if you look at like the newer Akai stuff that's come out. In the NPCs and stuff like that, they have a lot of those features built into them, like those standalone boxes and stuff like that. But is it easier to use those? Than bumping into a DAW? I'm not an NPC user, so I would say no. But I mean, some people might find it easier to do that kind of thing.
I think if you like the NPC workflow, it's cool. Yeah.
I think it's when that's your workflow habit, you've got to be NPC.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
and it's not my habit, so I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
For those people, it's their god.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Just like I know people who love the Electribe workflow, which I can't stand.
Oh, I love I hate the Electribe workflow, but I do like the Electron workflow.
Yeah.
And that one.
Yeah, I bought the new Korg Electribe a few years ago.
I remember this.
The blue one.
Yeah.
Not the sampler, and it looked sleek, and I thought it'd be fun, and man, I sold it fast. I just couldn't grok it at the end of the day. And, you know, I am an MPC user. I have a 2000 XL and I still have my 5000, which actually has some features that the new ones don't in terms of some of the hard drive recording and stuff. But, yeah, it's what you're about. And what that thing is about, though, to compare it to something like Contact, you know, it's really not. I mean, I guess you could do complicated multi-layer sampling and stuff, but that's not really its main thing, right? It's much more beat focused, and that's what it does super well.
So I have the Korg ES1, and I don't like the sequencer on it, and that's the workflow that people love. The reason why I kept it is because it's such a terrible sampler. that it adds a lot to it. What you
does.
put in is totally not what you get out of it, and it's in a good way. It just makes
Yeah.
everything sound brutal and hard in a way that other things don't. And it's not just a bitrate reduction or anything. I don't know what it is, but it's great. So like people go after the old EMU workflow for the the SP12 and the SP1200 and the old emulator 2 and Emacs. And so people often think that it was just the 12-bit or that it was the DAX, and it wasn't. It was that it was using a lossy compression based on telephone technology, which we were discussing before, called MLAW. And which and that's how they got all the telephone stuff to go over the first digital networks with compression. Right. And so so it just changes the quality of the sound in a way that people said, I like this. And now people spend ridiculous amounts for these old EMU samplers because it adds that sonic quality to it.
Have you seen that new SP1200 clone that guy was doing?
I've read about it. So there's a software company that actually emulates that compression too. It's from TAL, the people that make the Juno clone. So the TAL sampler has that emulated EMU compression workflow too that can reproduce that sound. Nice. But everybody else that tries to reproduce it just by doing bit reduction, they're not getting that sound at all.
Wow. Yeah, there's this guy I watch called Daydream Sound. I don't know if you've seen him or not. All he does is he's from Toronto. It's pretty cool. He does nothing but samplers. That's like his entire thing. And he's got pretty much everyone I've ever seen, from the Mirage to every Akai. Yeah, and he does a really cool sort of compare and contrast of stuff. It's pretty cool to hear.
The Mirage is a sampler I've become much more impressed with over the years. I used to just, because it had terrible specs, I thought nothing of it. And now I've seen what people do with it, and I realized the presets they really pushed what it could do, and it has a real great sonic quality to it that's really useful. It's just a nightmare to edit or work with because it's all hexadecimal. So
I was just gonna say,
be completely obsessed with it.
I love that.
So I don't want to use it, but I mean, I would like to have its factory.
Yeah, I don't think I want to code my music. I'm not into that whole idea.
No, just like I would never want to use an original Fairlight.
Oh yeah.
Because the original Fairlights was also a lot of hex and weird numerical values, and it really required an engineer to run it. It was a nightmare to use. It's the Arturia emulation is not an accurate emulation in that way, and it's good because they made it much more usable and easier to use, and you don't want that nightmare.
Right.
So.
Yeah. When they bring vintage stuff back, nobody wants to bring back the disadvantages, right? That's
right. Especially,
you want the good parts, but for example, the simple here, nobody wants to wire their house for 30 amps of power.
and
not even hobby electricians.
Nobody wants to bring back the interfaces, the user interfaces on a lot of those synths too. Because doing this all day, no.
Well, it's funny when I saw.
I have tendonitis.
Oh, the light pen.
Yeah, using the light pen all day on a screen, no.
Oh my god. Yeah, was it the screen, the R or something? Was the sequencer?
Yeah, page R.
Page R. Yeah. Crazy.
Yes. So, last week we were talking about the Oberheim 8 voice and the one that what's that company called? The
G-Media?
GeForce put out. And then there was the announcement that Cherry Audio released the 8-voice VST. And it's compatible with PCs as well as Mac, unlike the GeForce software ones. Now, did you get to take a look at that at all, Kreestof?
I did not.
Okay, cool.
I do have something from Cherry, though. I think I have a modular from Cherry.
Interestingly, I talk about serendipity. I bumped into them because they did a Polymode clone about a month ago. I'd never heard of them, and I was like, cool. And then when I saw that, we probably saw it near the same time. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm thinking in my head, did anybody know about this? But what's cool about Cherry is that they're way affordable, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's so much less expensive than what GeForce is putting out. Now, I didn't get a chance to play with it at all. What's that?
It's 1/5 the cost.
I bought two stuff. I bought the 8-voice and the Polymode, and they both sound beautiful. And I'll say that look, the interfaces are very similar, but there's some perks to them. I think the preset design for the A voice, which is the Cherry Audio one, might actually be a little better. So I think like nose to nose, I think it would be really hard to tell. I feel like possibly, it might just because I'm running on a Mac, the GeForce might have a slight audio advantage, but like in a mix, it's just so unbelievably unnoticeable that if you do a cost benefit, unfortunately, GeForce is going to lose on this one.
So, but have you compared to the filter? Because that's such an iconic kind of filter sound, the way that you can switch from low pass to high pass. Have you done a sweep? Do they sound similar?
I have, and that's one of the areas I feel like GeForce maybe wins a little bit. So I feel like they win a little bit in the interpolation and the filter, and they win a little bit in the raw oscillators. But this is not great. This is subtlety, This is me really going A/B testing for like 30 minutes because, like you do.
So it sounds like Cherry Audio is still a quality product at like a fifth of the price of the GeForce version of the 4-voice, or the 8-voice, I'm sorry.
And it runs on
Windows, which does also have an advantage, especially if you are trading tracks back and forth with each other.
Yep, and even if the GeForce has a slight advantage, the real strength of the 4-voice or 8-voice is just the weirdness of its interface. And so you'd still get to experiment with that, even if it doesn't sound sonically the same, because that the weirdness of the interface is just going to take you to places that nothing else is really going to take you. And it's exciting. It's an adventure synth.
I am trying to mess with I do like, actually, it's got a better, I'm kind of picky about this because I have a kind of a strange monitor setup.
Okay. Now the GeForce adds a third oscillator and some additional modulation.
Yeah. The resizing is better. I actually feel interesting. One critique, people were saying they didn't like the interface of the A-voice. Personally, I like it better. I find it more intuitive. So.
On the Cherry or on the GeForce?
On the Cherry.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all I've done. I mean, for one thing, I can resize in percentages the way you can now with Arturia products.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's good for us old Ben that have bad eyes. I mean, not you, Kreestof, because you're 29. But
I'm only 29.
do we reveal our secrets tonight?
All right. I'm Banksy.
He's Banksy.
I'm finally out with it. Just let the world know. Everybody's wondering, who's Banksy? It's me.
Justin, what's your secret?
Oh, my secret is I did all of the synth programming for Trent Reznor for the last 25 years.
And
that's
my secret is I am Daft Punk. Both of them.
And not which one. He's both.
The other
of them.
one was this.
One of them was actually just a puppet the whole time. Andrew had you fooled. He could throw his voice. It's amazing.
That's how this worked. SynthLab, how are you tonight? Now you know our secrets. You must all kill yourselves now. No, don't please do that. No. What you should do instead is you should subscribe to us, follow us if you like us, that kind of thing.
Also, if there's
Buy a
stuff you would
mug.
like to hear us ramble about in the future or our thoughts on, please let us know and we'll add them to our potential, topics.
Oh, listen to you.
I thought that was well
I thought so
delivered,
too.
Andrew.
Yeah, if you guys, let us know if you want us to talk about something or have questions about stuff or anything like that. If you want to form opinions, if you want to come hang out with us one night on our wonderful show and talk with us, whatever, people, I don't know. I'll make another frame. We can all hang out. It'll be cool. I want guests. I want different people on here. I want it to be more than just like 3 white dudes talking about, music gear.
Yes, it could be 4 white dudes.
White dudes talking,
Oh, dear.
Definitely.
All right. Now, to be fair, I know people of color and women who are really adept with equipment and
Absolutely.
gear.
Come on our show. We'd love to have you.
Yes.
Everybody's welcome, I say. A few years ago, Tommen, the big music store in Europe, had the Synth Reactor, which was where they got a bunch of YouTube talking heads, influencers, whatever you want to call them, together to play with things. And while we watched as Simon the Magpie tore apart like one of those MPE controllers and stuff, and it was kind of slightly embarrassing to watch, but Simon the Magpie is kind of embarrassing to watch anyway. Anyway, they are doing an online synthesizer event this weekend. Information tray. Yeah, come and hang out. You can be the fourth white dude. Called Keys and Frequencies. That's going on the 27th. Which is more, I'm guessing, more talking heads hanging out and talking. But you got like such greats as Cuckoo and Bo Beats and Heinbach and Gaz Williams. I hope that, God, I don't mean to say mean about Gaz Williams because I absolutely love Gaz Williams. I wish he was my uncle, but God, it's almost as if they just give him piles of cocaine and just let him go the fuck off when he goes on these shows. And it's exciting to me. Yeah.
I think one of those just naturally motivated folks.
I think he is. I love Gaz, but I mean, I swear to God.
He doesn't look strung out enough.
I know, but sometimes you just like, he just jumps all over people and it's just like he wants to, it almost looks like they're trying to hold him back from him licking you or something like that. And it's fantastic.
He's kind of an animated Winnie the Pooh character.
Oh, absolutely.
But I love it. Yeah. That first one was really cool. It had a lot of weird folks, like the 8-bit guy was there, I think, and who I didn't even know did like a keyboard thing because I watched him retro computer stuff, which is
and like Jade Wee was on there, but then you had Mark Dowdy.
Yeah, that guy Noir et Blanc-Vie, who I really like.
And I got introduced to him.
I mean, that's a cool
from that. And,
cool folks. I mean, I thought that was great because I mean. And Loopop, that was the only picture I've seen of that guy's face was at Toma.
You didn't meet him at Mogfest?
Because he's already...
Oh, that's right. You were back at the room.
No.
I hung out with with Loopop at Mogfest.
Yeah. You were supposed to meet up with him, and I forget what I was doing. Probably sleeping.
Yeah, I think you were sleeping.
But
Makes great videos.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A really nice guy.
Oh, I love that guy. But he's kind of the international man of mystery because you never see his face.
He has,
unlike some of
great hands.
I felt that way about Starsky Carr, but then he started showing his face.
He did recently. He's got that new other channel that he does where it's in his living room and he has like a little chalkboard or something.
Or clubbing TV,
I have to admit, I rarely troll on people. Or I never troll on people, but I actually critiqued him at one point because he didn't warn me before he did a resonant filter sweep and it nearly knocked me off of my chair.
You love resonant
filter
sweeps.
He was doing like the Wasp or one of those little like Behringer things.
Okay, yeah.
Just tore a hole in my friggin' head, and I was like, "Dude, do what you will, but give us some warning, man."
Synthmania will be on there. I love Synthmania.
Me too.
Justin, were you at the last time we went to KnobCon? Were you at the thing where he was doing the Kraftwerk tribute?
Oh yeah, man! I went and talked to him because Jody's really into Italo, and I listen to Italo disco too. And so I was like, "This guy's super. He's like the Italo guy, He's Italian and he knows all the songs." And so I was like, "Yeah, I got to go hang with this guy." And he was really shy, but he did talk to me.
But he literally did like an hour-long set of Kraftwerk covers where he didn't stop, and he just mixed them. It was all Italo style. And
they did this whole German night. Remember the one band did like a Noi thing, and then Suit and Tie Guy did Tangerine Dream thing, and he did, and it was great. That was so great.
Fun. Who else is on here? Look Mom No Computer. Soma is going to be showing off a new product, which I'm always excited about because I love Soma. I mean, Soma Labs is the most interesting fucked up manufacturer, I think, out there as far as stuff is concerned. I have 2 pieces of Soma gear, and I made sure to buy the 2 things that Soma makes that's even weird for them to make. So I got the pipe, which people who watch my live streams know this thing.
I knew you were hitting
The
that
Soma
pipe.
pipe.
Oh yeah, wait.
Which you play by humming into the little microphone right here. And then you have all these weird little doodads and stuff like that. And then I have the Quantum Ocean, which isn't so much a musical instrument as much as it is a shamanistic brain reprogrammer. Like, it comes with a manual that they give you exercises to do and everything like that. So you'll eventually become Vlad Kramer if you use this thing enough.
I'm just excited that someone
Oh
bought
yeah,
it.
I'm sure. I think they probably sold 5 of them, and I'm one of them because I'm like, yay! Although I do really want the Lyra 8. It's on my, and the Pulsar 23 sound looks like it's an amazing thing as well. I want a bright orange Lyra 8. I love the fact that they come in the most ridiculous colors, or like the flesh tone one, or like the pink, I should say.
Are they the Russian company? Yeah, I've seen a couple of their demos. I think Nick Bat did something. Was it the Libra? Where it was just unbelievably uncontrollable.
And that's the idea.
It was unbridled. Yeah, it's great.
They make these little things that are about like $25, and basically what they do is they just pick up EM signals and translate them into noise.
Nice.
And so you can like walk around and like hold it up against things, and it's just like, whoa. But yeah, so they're premiering a new product. Who knows what that's going to do? It might reprogram you and shave your head for you.
Cool.
Let's say Red Means Recording. He's always fun. I like Jeremy Blake a lot. I'd like to hang out with him and give him a hug. I think he needs one. DJ Kabuki. I don't know who that is, but then you got like Roland's going to be there talking about stuff. Novation's going to be talking about the circuit tracks. Waldorf's going to be doing the Iridium deep dive. And, a bunch of other people like that. That is going on the 27th, starting at 2 p.m. CET. So if you're Central European, that's what that is. That should be interesting, given the lack of synth shows and everything going on right now. I think that, as far as like, our big synth events and stuff like that, I think it's nice to see, be able to do those kinds of things and having some kind of interaction with from that concerned. I'm hoping that, if things get back to normal, do you think NobCon's going to happen this year?
I don't know. Illinois is not doing the greatest at vaccinations, but we are very low in cases. I think we've got we're sub 1,000 cases a day. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I know that they're talking about doing Super Booth possibly. So that's interesting. But that happens way before. NobCon's like in September.
But they're moving Super Booth to, I think, September actually. Yeah, they
are they? Okay. I thought you said they were moving NobCon out of Schaumburg, and I was going to be so sad.
No, we can't do that because we got to go to the sushi place with the.
Man, that was so much fun.
We had the rotating sushi bar. That place was fun. Kreestof, you got to go to NobCon with us.
Okay. We'll have to get special press passes.
Do they make press pass?
And matching space uniforms.
Well, we can totally do matching space uniforms.
Hold my beer. We can make our own passes. We can do like in
helmets.
Like in New Hampshire, if they can make their own license plates, we can make our own passes.
Right, exactly. Bust out the markers, boys. So that's...
So, by the way, here's a fun fact. If you put together media laminates and stuff like that, you can exceed the baggage allowance for airlines by getting a media press pass. So, sometimes they won't let you get more than 3 bags. If you've got more gear than that, if you can get a media pass, and then you can get more.
Good to know.
Wow. Did not know.
Also, fun fact, if you have a white cargo van and a Dayglow vest, you can get into anything. And a hard hat.
Somebody's selling
That's all you need.
It sounds like sort of the penetration tester's handbook here. How to socially engineer.
Throw down some orange cones and start diving into those sewers, ladies and gentlemen.
Too.
Yeah, Ghostbusters too.
Wow. Well, before we go on for the next news item, I think it is time for our weekly contest, brought to you by the good folks over at Ick Studios.
Not the Ick Studios.
Indeed. because the fact that no one would want to actually give us anything to give away, I'm giving away stuff for us. So this week, you get a chance to win Missile Command's first album, Machine Should Think, People Should Work, which is a great chunk of synth poppy goodness. So I am going to hit the giveaway button here, and off it goes. That should pop up on the chat window in a second. There we go. Yes, the raffle has started. Use the exclamation point raffle to enter it. You must be following us to get that raffle goodness. And if you subscribe, you get 2 raffle entries. So bang that raffle button.
So
you got 10 minutes.
I subscribe and I follow, but I'm not going to enter.
Well, thank you.
I'm going to let the viewers try to get the sweets.
I guess I should say, like, if you're an employee of X Studios, I mean, are you an employee at this point, Kreestof? I mean, how much am I paying you?
Crickets.
The hug
How much am I paying anybody who works for X Studios? Justin, how much am I paying you?
You owe me.
You owe me an apology. So yeah, again, exclamation point raffle. Thank you for the spike cam. To enter that raffle and get a free copy of Machine Should Think, People Should Work. Featuring some really cool music, and I'm not just saying it because I wrote it. Information tray, thank you, is right. It's a fantastic album.
It really is.
Yeah. Also, if you win and you meet us at KnobCon, we'll take a photo with you. Just one.
Maybe if we get popular enough, we can have a fan meetup at KnobCon, which would really just be like, whatever, hey guys, how's it going? Good. Yeah. All right, I'm going to leave now. Bye.
I will say, back in the Missile Command days, that you guys put on some of the greatest stage shows. So much fun. So much fun. Good music, good entertainment, good stuff.
Thanks. Those were the days. Back in my day. My favorite was when we played at Convergence in Florida. Is one of the 2 best ones, and it was a whole bunch of goth people, and then there was also a bodybuilder convention going on at the same time. So we had like a bunch of goth people dancing and a bunch of bodybuilders like buying our albums to work out to.
You can't do better than
can't.
that.
They're like, it's cool, we're freaks too. I'm like, all right, that's good, yeah. And then the best one though was when we played at the Science Center, and we had the 501st, which are the people that cosplay as stormtroopers from Star Wars, line dancing the entire show in full regalia with their weapons, pretending they're keytars, because I played the keytard with it.
That's the 501st Regiment?
The 501st Legion. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So good. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. I wasn't at that.
That was fun. We did a cover of Space Oddity by David Bowie that night, and it was fun to do that too.
Was that the acapella
one?
Or no? Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
One of my favorite covers. One of my favorite covers to do live was that one. Another one was when we did "I Feel Love," but I just used the Nintendo DS with the Korg DS1 to do the whole thing. And then Dawn was doing the main vocal, and Lori and Jim were harmonizing on vocoders behind her. That was a lot of cool. And then we did Oingo Boingo's Insanity. No, we never recorded it. That's half the fun of the covers, is And then we did Oingo Boingo's Insanity when we had someone build us electronic taiko drums to do that live. That was fun.
I remember that. That was the guy with
Michael
the bindi.
Render.
What's his name? The
Michael
power
Render.
bindi. Yeah.
With the Korg DS1, were you running the MS-20 app? Yeah, that sounds great.
Had that little drum machine in there and everything like that. So we just literally just programmed the sequence in there, and then Dawn can hit those Donna Summer notes like no one else. So that was
cool.
Oh wow!
Dawn's the opera singer, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. How many octaves in her voice?
3.
40?
Yeah, I know, right? She's a mezzo-soprano, so it's a impressive amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we talked it up, enter the raffle. Just go into the message window and hit exclamation point raffle to be entered into the raffle for the Missile Command album, Machine Should Think, People Should Work. Musicians and music workers hold protests at Spotify's offices around the globe. If you guys saw that or not. It was the Union of Musicians and Allied Music Workers talking about that they were, because of the not paying anybody anything much.
I've heard they've paid out over $100 to musicians.
All musicians got their fair share of $100.
Yeah, I don't know. It's bad. I mean, I think because of the pandemic, and I know so many musicians and DJs here in Chicago that are, it's been difficult for them financially, and stuff like this just makes it worse. And yeah, I don't want to say too many negative things about Spotify because they're just part of an ecosystem that behaves this way. But it's really unfortunate.
So I don't have Spotify, and the thing that I think really confounds people is that my DJ software doesn't use Spotify either, nor do I have internet in most clubs. So people ask me to play things, and I say I don't have it, and they expect that I can just dial it up on Spotify and play it, because that's how DJing works with Magic.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, well, just pull it up on YouTube. It's like, all right, I can't do that either, and that's not what I do. And so, yeah.
I wonder how the licensing works, because I've thought about this. Obviously our stuff is up there and, label wide because of the distribution stuff we use. But if you were like on a gigantic label, like a Sony or something, how do they negotiate that with Spotify? Because there's a lot of stuff you can't find. I'm not trying to be super elitist here, but there's a lot of weird stuff you can't find.
So here's how
but there's a ton of stuff you can.
Here's how this works. Okay, so Spotify pays every time a song gets streamed, you get paid 0.0038 of a cent. So if you're on Sony Records and stuff like that, and they're actually promoting you and everything along those lines, then you have a chance to make a little bit more money than everybody else does because more people are going to listen to you.
I got it.
So like Billie Eilish will get she'll get a million listeners because it's a worldwide thing, and then she'll make she'll make a little bit of money off of that, or at least her label will. Spotify has its sights set on 80 new markets around the world: Bangladesh, South Korea, Pakistan, and Nigeria, to name a few of them. So these guys are around the world. Their value tripled over the pandemic period of the past year. They're still only paying 0.0038 of a cent per stream. They are the lowest paying of the streams that X Studios uses. Apple Music is actually the highest paying. Obviously, the highest paid way to do it is just to buy it directly from us on our Bandcamp page, or that kind of thing. But we're not in it for the money. We just like doing it because we like making music. We still all have day jobs. And everything like that. Well, Justin is an international rock star, but programming for Trent Reznor does that for you. Ever since I gave up the Daft Punk Muppets, I just. So, but yeah. So, will it make a difference? Does Spotify give a shit? No, I don't think it will make any difference. These folks are protesting and everything like that. I don't think that there is enough of a footprint for anyone else to see it happening. That's just my opinion.
Nobody cares. They only care about the shareholders.
Yeah. And the people then the customers aren't going to care too much because they're just more interested in, in just listening to the music. They're not really concerned about people getting paid. Sure. Music has become such a commodity that it's really depressing.
Well, I'll tell you what my take on this is, because for me, Spotify's a little bit like radio. And radio never played the stuff that I was into. And my first experience with Spotify is somebody I was dating had Spotify, and it's like, oh, you can pull up anything. So it's like, all right. And I put something in, they didn't have it. Put something else in, they didn't have it. They put something else in, didn't have it. It's like, yeah, I don't like Spotify. And so I never bothered to get it. But I understand for a lot of other people, yeah. But this is also kind of my problem with Kindle books, where when you're buying like a license to a book that Amazon can then take away from you, which they famously did with 1984, where they pulled people's books away. And here they can restrict your access to music, and that's dangerous to me. So I want to buy it and own it, and nobody can take it away from me. And it's more expensive this way, but it's mine.
Right.
And it's mine forever unless I lose my stuff. Other people, they just want the convenience of the cloud, but other people have broader tastes and they like a lot of things. And I hate almost everything. I just want the one thing that I like.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It makes me weird, and I'm not this Spotify target audience because I'm a weirdo. They want the 10,000 people, not the one guy that hates everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have
money to
benefited
be
from
made on
them.
me.
Their playlists and like, you know, them dropping you into other bands. And, you know, it's kind of like the whole thing with what Pandora was supposed to be, which is, oh, you like this genre, you might find something. And I found some stuff that way. It's pretty cool.
Actually, I love Pandora because, yeah, I mean, Pandora will introduce me to things, but after a while, my Pandora thing got so narrow, it doesn't play anything new.
Yeah.
It figured out, no, he hates everything. Just play the stuff he likes.
No, I get that. I kind of.
It's already own all that.
Yeah, I'm very much in the same way. So no one entered the raffle, bastards. Come on, we're trying to give you.
Or it's
they didn't want to. They didn't want to
hey,
give. We're
like
giving
this
you music.
It's like we're like, hey, you like this stuff? You'd like Prodigy? No, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's trying to make me like Prodigy, Spotify.
I used to struggle with that even in Pandora because I would be like, I would create a playlist because they would name the playlist after the band, right? So you'd be like, so I put in something because, you know, I do like shoegaze, so I put in like My Bloody Valentine. And inevitably, I would get some like freaking total garbage eventually.
Yeah. You like Nirvana because you like this. No.
It was playing Algorithmic Telephone with like, you know, the time you got to the end of it, it was like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. I do that with like Apple Music. I'm trying to program it, and it's just like, you know, you liked Frontline Assembly. Here's some John Denver. What? Wait.
Yeah. Or, hey, you liked the Smiths. Perhaps you'd like a prescription for Prozac.
Well, in that case, yes. You like Morrissey.
Wow.
Perhaps you'd like to go away. Well, yes.
Well, if you like them now, anyway.
I guess,
Yeah.
So I extended the raffle because no one entered it. Granted, I'm looking at our user list, and I think that there's a good chunk of these folks are probably bots. Casino Thanks, Commander Root, to name a few.
Yeah.
Possibly Robo Gaijin.
So
I don't know.
So it's just Architect who probably has the album already.
Synth Lab is real. Jody Crevens is real.
Yeah.
Bloodluster, I believe, is real. That might be, that might be fake. Who knows?
Maybe I need to promote more.
I know, right? Architect is feeding the Padawan. Understandable.
That's a good reason.
Yep. Information Trey gave up and left.
Feed them, they grow though. So if they grow, they can grab things and pull them down. So it's your choice. You do you.
Right. Well, I started listing off all the bots, and then they all left. Maybe they were real people. I'm sorry, guys. Come back to us. They're like, how dare you think I'm a bot? Well, you don't interact with us. Anyway, Steinberg, creators of Cubase, have released an awkwardly named podcasting creation tool called Wavelab Cast.
That does look interesting.
Yes, Wavelab Cast. It is an easy-to-use, supposedly, podcast production application for quick editing and mixing of speech recordings. You can also add sound to videos and broadcast live streams, so it's useful for all kinds of social media audio production, which is kind of cool. And it's going for, like, right now, it is going for about $80, 70 euro. They're offering a 20% discount. Works on Windows 10 and OS 10 Catalina or Big Sur. It looks pretty cool. I mean, I don't see much of a use for it at the moment for me because all I'm doing is this kind of stuff. I am not creating much content. I'm just yammering, and then I make music. So, but it looks kind of like a cool thing, and I can see some folks that are interested in doing podcasting and stuff like that jumping onto that.
Yeah, it probably makes a lot of sense for people that don't have experience with audio editing and they don't have something like Adobe Audition. So they want a tool that's not $400. And it's also a little bit like dumbed down, but has the features that you need to quickly make it
Right.
good. And it looks like it has that. So I think it's probably going to do well.
I think so too.
And it's continued in 2 years and leave everybody high and dry.
Probably. They'll probably stop doing anything with it. But
Because
I think that the nice thing, again, this is the they'll probably make it subscription model, and then but this is the kind of, this is the wonders of the future of where we have these things, and they're making these things easier and easier for folks to use and stuff like that, which has the positive effect of getting people to work on these things and pulling their creations and making them into reality, which is wonderful and beautiful. At the same token, it also saturates the fucking market. And then, the next thing you know, you have a bunch of white dudes sitting here talking about technology and music gear every 2 weeks for an audience of mostly robots anyway.
And their friends.
And our friends, which we love our friends and we love our robots.
Well, maybe my friends might watch this later because this is unlikely to be censored. That's what I'm going to tell myself when I'm crying myself to sleep later.
Right? I get that. Yeah. But this does get also, not only does it get archived for 30 days up on Twitch here, but it does also get archived permanently on our YouTube channel as well.
Ooh.
Yes.
No, I think this thing is cool. I think to your point, again, like this pandemic situation has created an area for people to develop software to make it more accessible to people. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's one of those things where I like the democratization of it, but to your point, I don't know. I mean, I do consume certain podcasts.
Same here.
And I like this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. And it's easier for them to do than, because I think a lot of people that want to produce content, unlike us, aren't super enthusiastic about the technical processes involved in achieving that. Mm-hmm. For me, I definitely wear two hats. There's technical set stuff up hat and then creative hat, and they rarely do they overlap. But I can see it being difficult for entry level person to do what you're doing here with OBS, and not to mention actually knowing what microphone to get and how to deal with recording that, and it's
Yeah, I know a lot of New York DJs, and most of them aren't streaming, and I think it's largely because they can't. They just, the technical hurdle is too high for them.
Yeah.
Or, for example, and I know people that, they just don't have enough computers. For my setup, because I DJ from a computer, I need 2 computers, and a lot of people just don't have that. Mm-hmm. So it does make it easier. But the other thing, though, is even if you can do it, if this makes it so you can do it better or more professionally, that's great. Because I'm sick of watching terrible things or listening to terrible things. So if this makes it easier to make your stuff to sound compressed and I can hear you and understand, or helps you get rid of the background noise, wonderful. So that's great.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Yeah. And I think that's...
No one wants to know.
Although there's a lot of content, I mean, there had to be a lot for me to find the people that I liked.
True.
Especially because I hate everything. So if there's a DJ in San Francisco that I love, and I never would have found him if he hadn't started streaming.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's. I think that the pandemic attitude of a lot of the stuff that was kind of in walled communities and stuff like that, that's no longer the case, really. Think about for Kreestof, what you're doing with the DJ streams, what I'm doing with the music streams and stuff like that. Back in January of 2020, you play shows for your friends and folks and stuff in your local town. You're playing, you're DJing gigs and stuff like that. You're DJing for folks in New York City. Yeah. Now we're not, nowadays, we DJ for the world. We do music and play concerts and jams and stuff like that for the world. Yeah. The Golden Shrimp Guild, which is advertised up on our chat line. If you're not part of Golden Shrimp, you should join it because it's awesome. These are folks that are worldwide that, a year ago, was a very small group. Now it spans the world. We have these synth fests now that literally the last one went on for 5 days. And it never stopped because we had people all around the globe picking it up and rating it on and stuff like that. And so it was huge as far as that kind of thing is concerned, if you think about it. So your audience is no longer as small as your local town when you're a performer. Yeah. And I think that's, is this the future? Is this what it's going to be like? I mean, I do miss playing out in concert venues. I do miss dragging my gear up far flights of fucking stairs and getting paid $20 to, play in a place that smells like vomit and broken dreams. But at the same time, there's something mighty convenient about being able to play for the world and talk to people around the world and do stuff from, my studio here.
They both have their strengths and weaknesses, and I hope that the streaming continues on, after things reopen. like a lot of people that come to see me DJ stopped going to clubs years ago. So I'm hoping that they'll keep coming. But of course, just because clubs reopen doesn't mean, and they weren't going to clubs, doesn't mean they're not going to be busy going out to dinner or movies or other things that are less important than my stream.
Right.
But they could. But yeah. So I want to DJ in person because I don't, because otherwise I'm just standing alone in my room and I do miss the interaction. I miss big sound because I live in a condo, so I can't blast it. And I love hearing some of these songs in huge sound systems. So I want to do both. And I'm hoping it'll continue, and we'll see.
And one of the things I really hope for is, and this is probably a pipe dream, this is that as things start reopening and everything like that, I really hope that that those kinds of things could be offered, like the venues could start doing things like installing internet connections.
Well, I have mixed feelings
offering
about
streaming, because why not? Why can't we do that?
Well, I can tell you the way I DJ for Twitch is completely different than the way I DJ in a club. Like when I DJ in a club, I never talk to the audience. I never thank anybody for bits or a hype train. It's a very different thing. So, but yeah, they could start streaming it. But the other thing is, like, I've DJed more in the last year than I have in the last 5. But I know that's why I also have 15 streams competing against me. Because now so many people can do it. And that's just with the people that are limited to the technical ability of being able to do it. And because I'm able to reach this bigger audience, I'm hoping that now I will get asked to DJ in other cities and other places in the world, because I don't really get those offers. And this has boosted my exposure. So I'm hoping to do both, and I'm hoping to do it in more places. Or just I hope that will raise my visibility so I start getting offered more jobs.
Sure. That makes sense.
But I don't.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that, for me at least, it's just like if I would love to go and play concerts out in the world again, but I would love to be able to still offer it to other people as well. I'd love to be able to just like set up a mobile streaming rig, walk in, plug in. Yeah. I would actually have a person, I would find a person who would be into basically modding me. And thanking them for the bits and thanking them for the subscriptions and everything like that for me while I'm performing a regular concert, in front of the people that are there, and I'm not saying that I'm doing it to increase my revenue stream. It's just more along the lines of like, oh, cool, we're out again. Come join, the party's still continuing and stuff like that. And the show still goes on no matter where you are in the world. Come and hang out, Yeah.
I want to see your shows without driving 22 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you could record it and then play it on your stream, but it's not the same.
Right, exactly.
But that's what I'm saying about how it's different for clubs and streaming. Like, for example, if I go to a club, if I DJ at a club that is now streaming, I can't really interact with people. And also all the bits and revenue, that's all going to go to the club. None of that's going to go to me.
That's why I'm saying I'm bringing my own stream rig and just plugging into their internet connection. Be like, here I am, motherfuckers. And I've done that. And like last year we did the ambient music festival, which was like literally it was 12 ambient acts, and we just played straight through for 8 hours pretty much. Someone just came in and they just started playing, and the other person would just slowly fade out, and then that kind of thing. So it was this ridiculously huge thing, and we live streamed the entire event on Twitch, and it was kind of cool. We had folks just coming in and out, and some folks would send us bits and everything along those lines. And it was and I had a person who was just hanging out, modding it and like thanking folks for, hanging out and talking with them and interacting with folks and stuff like that. It was kind of a cool experience.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm like, well, I could, and if I could play in venues where I can get away with that kind of thing, then absolutely,
Yeah. Well, hopefully there will still be venues when things reopen.
Right, that's the other thing too. Is I have no fucking idea where I would play at this point, but Yeah. So, Audacity 3.0 has been released. much like the
Hooray!
hounds.
So Audacity is just one of those wonderful tools.
It really is.
That I'm so glad exists for free. It reminds me a lot of the old Cool Edit.
Mm-hmm. I was about to say it's the poor man's Cool Edit. It's such a little Swiss Army knife of audio production tools and stuff like that. Like, folks, I mean, you can use it as a multi-track recorder. You can use it as an audio editor. And it's, every year, the thing's been around for 21 years.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I used it many years ago to do work.
Mm-hmm.
And I met somebody recently here in Chicago who's a singer-songwriter person, and they use it pretty much exclusively, which surprised me a lot. But to good effect, right? I mean, if you play acoustic instruments and you sing, and I guess you don't need a ton of plugins and fancy stuff, then why not?
I use it as an audio editor, and I use it as a audio converter to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, quit washing dishes in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not much I can do about that, bro.
Is there a door you can close, maybe?
Yeah, no, it's my own apartment. It's the kitchen is in this adjoining wall.
Oh, okay.
It should stop.
It's these Chicago apartments. They're
I think pokey is the word you were looking for.
maybe
Small. Yes. Yeah.
Not palatial like Kreestof and mine's palatial estates.
So one of the big advantages of the new version of Audition is that it has a monolithic file format instead of keeping everything
Audacity,
separate.
you mean?
So that should, Audacity, sorry. So that should make it easier for people to manage their projects. And tons of bug fixes.
Yes, I think they said 160 bugs. Yep, including several priority ones. So yeah, go download it. It's free, as in beer. And it's a great tool. I don't know. Here's to 21 more years.
Yeah, I mean, so often just what you need, you don't need all the bells and whistles of something like Audition or SoundForge. You just need to do some minor edits. You just need to like trim some audio or just normalize something, and you could do all that, quickly. And I used to, like, every once in a while at work, I'd have to, modify some audio, and I didn't have a license for anything, but Audition was, Audacity was ready. So that was, it's great.
Is SoundForge still a thing?
I doubt it. I don't know.
I don't know.
What I liked about SoundForge is it had really good, you could upload to samplers by, you could load something into SoundForge, and then it could interface and send something to a sampler, I think over, maybe over SysX.
Yeah. Nice.
Oh, yeah. SoundForge is still a thing.
Yeah. Great. And whereas Cool Edit became the basis of Audition.
Yeah, because Adobe bought that one.
And I remember everybody had their thing that, like, they used to argue which was the best wave editor, SoundForge, Cool Edit, or Wavelab. Yeah.
Yep, you can get it starting at $53 or go all the way to the $600 price range.
And I think SoundForge used to be made by Sonic Foundry, and then Sony bought it.
Yeah, now it's a company called Magix.
Cool Edit was made by Trillium, and Adobe bought it. And I'm not sure what happened to Gold Wavelab.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Gold Wavelab either. If you know, pump up in the chat, yo. Pump up in the chat.
So for me, I preferred Cool Edit because I liked the spectrum view. I thought that was super handy. But SoundForge had oscillator generation that was really nice.
And SoundForge was also really quick to learn, like the basics around it, I think.
Yeah.
And I like that. Because I was up and running pretty quickly, and I remember doing weird, goofy stuff in there. Actitet was a Cool Edit guy as well.
Yeah. Cool Edit 96 forever.
There you go.
And then Cool Edit Pro introduced the multi-tracks. It's amazing I know all this since I'm only 29.
I know, right? How do you know all this stuff? I remember when Cool Edit Pro
I
came
was
out
7.
is because
No, I was 5.
when I was in
Yeah,
the
that's-
band, in a band back when Cool Edit Pro came out, the other guy, Kevin,
Yeah.
Justin knows who I'm talking about, decided that he was going to record the entire album in Cool Edit Pro, and it was a fucking nightmare. Yeah.
Well, I'll bet.
I thought he used. Didn't you guys use Cakewalk?
He started with
Wow.
Cakewalk, and then he moved over. Then he started using Cool Edit Pro,
Which-
and then he started using
If you-
Samplitude, I think. And then
Okay.
he switched to Cubase.
So I recorded an album in Cakewalk
Mm-hmm.
6, and Cakewalk 6 had an undocumented thing where you could adjust your levels 0 to 127, but it only recognized them in 16 steps of 16, but it didn't tell you that. So it's like, I need this to be a little bit louder or quiet, and I'm adjusting it, and it's not making any difference, and it doesn't sound right, and it's because you only had 16 levels. It was just a complete and total 4-bit lie. And and my friend had Cubase because he had Mac, and his audio engine was so far superior to what I had, and it made me so mad. Because otherwise, a sequencer is a
Right.
sequencer, but the Cubase engine, the audio engine, was far superior. And that would have been the advantage of Cool Edit Pro too, is that you would have had the actual levels. So, but back then, even still, you had like the processing speed was so low, it was going to be a nightmare.
And then like the hard drive read writes and stuff like that were just like, yeah.
Yep. And you didn't have that much space, and audio files are huge for what we had then. She had a 500 megabyte drive.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think we had I think he had like 4 500 gig or megabyte drives in that computer, because he like spec'd this thing out and it would still glitch the fuck out and everything like that. And we were determined and dogged to record this thing at his house. And this was like what, 2000? Like it took us like 3 years to record this fucking album, and it was a terrible album.
Still, but still, the quality you were able to get out of that was, for the budget, better than you were going to be able to get. Because you were still getting digital.
We were recording at 24-bit too, which was kind of crazy for back then.
Yeah.
He was very insistent on doing stuff like in the biggest pain in the ass way possible.
That's a huge pain in the ass.
Yeah, he was good at that.
Yeah. I would, unless I was recording something with a lot of dynamic range, I would never record in 24-bit, and I won't record in 96 either.
Yeah, I'll record. I do most of my stuff in 24 nowadays, but that's just to give Adam a little bit more headroom.
I would mix down to 24-bit or 96, but I wouldn't record in it.
Yeah, I compromised at 48 because I think I do notice 44.
Yeah.
But I
would do 48.
Yeah, I do 24, 48 is my record. That's what I record at. Yeah.
Yep. Same here. It's a good sweet spot because it's not going to kill your CPU, but it's also going to sound a little bit better than your average player. So.
And I think it's great to have that 24-bit for your headroom in your mix down, in your mastering. Sure. Yeah.
I also have a 12 terabyte Promise drive attached to my main computer, so I'm not really going to give too much of a shit about how big files are as I'm recording them.
Nice.
And then I stem it all out, and then I just dump the original when I'm done anyway. So, because that's the way you do it nowadays, kids. But I hated.
But I'm also not recording symphonies.
Right, exactly.
Like if I was recording that kind of thing, then that makes sense. Whereas like my end result is range, so it's not going to make sense.
And I'm not. And honestly, I don't record a lot of tracks.
Yeah.
I think like the most I had in the last RPM challenge, I think I had like the most I had was 10.
I try to limit myself to 8.
Yeah.
And that
generally I'm around 8.
Yeah, that includes outboard stuff. So usually only running a couple VSTs, and most of that is processing. And,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I can do, I don't need to do 64 tracks of the same fucking thing over and over again.
So in the 90s, I would have needed that many tracks because I needed 12 tracks just to get my drums right.
Right.
Because I didn't have access to good samplers then, and so I had to isolate the instruments and then process them all differently to give them the sound that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had to have a different level of distortion or a different EQ, and then eventually it would mix together.
Right.
But I remember blowing so many tracks. I had a Mackie 16, and 12 tracks of it were just like it was juggling 2 drum machines and a sampler for one sound to try to get it out. Because we didn't have a high polyphony sampler.
Oh yeah.
It was a nightmare. It's like now I would just make one sample bank, and it would all be 2 tracks. I figured it out all when I got it sampled.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Justin, have you played with the little drum machine in Studio One?
I pulled it up once, and it's pretty slick.
It is. What I like about it is it's pretty self-contained, and like I have the Atom SQ, so I can pull it up into the programmer mode, and basically it's like an XOX style sequencer. But then you can add probability, and you can do variations really, really fast on that thing too, which is one of the things I really like about it. But then, like, you just do it, and then what it does, it automatically creates just like your drum mixer channel, but then you click a button and it expands it to all the channels.
Wow.
Which is great. So you have like the summation bus basically, that's your main thing. But then you can pop that bad boy open and adjust all the levels on there. And I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, a couple of the UJAM plugins that I'm using now will do that, which is nice because it's just like nowadays I should be able. So, okay, let's go back to the multi-track. So that we talked about this before. I mean, very often in the past, I was using an MPC.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I would get everything right where I wanted it on the 2000 XL, and then I would drop it. And I would only usually do separate tracks for like bass drums or sometimes snares because they had some kind of special treatment. But I really tried to hammer it all out on the MPC. But with stuff like this, it's like, I really need the granularity of being able to get to that and then put it like through a drum bus. So I have, some control of that as a thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that's probably the same way to do it. I mean, I remember being challenged by drum programming. So like, I always loved percussion and I remember listening to, was it How Jobs? I think it was Solutions for Small. And I'm like, okay, this guy he's just upped the game. I'm like, now I got to sit down and figure this out, and sitting in my little 1-bedroom apartment in DC with my EPS and that CD, trying to figure out how to emulate that stuff was tough.
It was just sample loops. It was all sample loops.
Sure. But it was quality stuff. And it was
the
really
manipulations of those sample loops were pretty impressive,
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Took a lot of effort.
Which Akai was that? Was that the 2800 or the 32? Do you know?
Oh, what that he used?
Yeah, on Solutions. He was like a big Akai guy.
I thought it was the Was it the S9000?
I think it was the 5000, wasn't it?
I don't know.
When that album came out?
What's that?
Was
96.
The S9000 out when that came out?
Yeah. No, that album came out. That album came out in 98, I think.
Okay.
Solutions, 96.
Was it 96?
All right, yeah.
Yeah, because Freeze Frame came out in 95.
That's right. Yeah,
I don't really know. Maybe next time I run into Daniel Meyer at one of the, if he ever those, he used to come to Chicago.
When he had the S5000.
What?
When he lived in Brooklyn, he had the S5000, but I don't know if that was out when Solutions came out.
Yeah, I don't know. But I tell you, those Akais were pretty intense.
Yeah.
So it came out 98, 99.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. So yeah, something else.
So maybe the 3000?
There was they made so many of those. There was the S1000. There was, I never had those Akais, the rack mount ones, but always had great respect for people that used them.
Kevin had the 3000.
Did he?
Yeah.
Some people claim that for drums that nothing sounds better. I mean, it's all a matter of
exactly why. The Akai has a very fast envelope.
Right.
So and emulators don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So the attack envelope, it softens the attack on all your sounds. So when drums come out of an EMU, they sound weaker, and out of the Akai they come out sharp because you can basically turn the volume envelope off. Similarly, the Kurzweil has a really fast attack envelope. It comes up and I think it was 5 samples. It was from 0 to max, or maybe it was 3 samples. So that's nearly instantaneous. So I went through all my gear and I did like these comparisons to try to figure this stuff out. So I think that was the advantage of the Akais, is that they were just really fast on the the volume envelope. And that's what I liked about batteries as sampler, is you can turn the volume envelope off completely. And that's really important because your sample often has a decay. So then when your sampler's adding a volume drop off, it makes the sounds weaker in a way that you don't. And if you're sending drum on info and no sustain, then it's dropping the sound after it plays. Whereas battery, you can just have it when the volume envelope's turned off, then it just plays the sample straight through the way it's supposed to, and lets the decay sample play out.
One thing Akai did that Insonic didn't, at least the EPS and the EPS 16 Plus, was the bloody clicking, the infamous clicking.
Yes.
And so it was basically in your initial attack, like the way you sampled something, and so it didn't have like a look back, even if you got the pre-sample, you could still get the clicking as you got real close.
It wouldn't find the 0 point.
Yeah. Friggin' nightmare. The ASR 10 fixed that problem, and that was like, but I don't know how they fixed it, whether they smoothed it like the emulators or what they did, but it went away. But that was a constant struggle, as I'd get a perfect sample and then I'd be like, oh, damn it, Now I got to smooth it out. Yeah.
Damn you. Yeah, the S3000 was a cool sampler, but I could not wrap my head around that fucking interface.
I mean, the whole Akai, you have to be used to that interface and that operating system. Just like the emulators are weird. Like I have an ESI 2000, and that's based on the emulator 3 OS. And so it's like everything. It's like you can't really save your patches. You save the entire bank. That's a pain in the ass. But it was built on that architecture. So if that's what you were used to, then that's what you had. So, and that's why another reason why I preferred Kurzweil, which was, I just wanted to save these patches and it gave me more power over this stuff. But, they all have their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And going back to Daniel Meyer had a very limited rig. He had a Morpheus. He had a Korg 05W controller. Or no, 01WD, one of those old Korgs, but he was basically using it as a controller, and then everything else was basically samples. Yeah. And so he was really good at that. And so when you're doing it that way, you don't need that many tracks, and that ties me back to, so we were thinking about like how many drum tracks we used to use. I'm thinking about when I had 3 different drum machines, and I know people that are buying old analog drum machines like 707, 606, 909, and so my favorite band, this one, was the first band to release an album using the 909. And I don't like the sound of the 909 unless you process the hell out of it. And so if I was using analog drum machines, then I'm back out to using a ton of recording tracks because I need to process the hell out of them so they don't sound like what they are anymore. And that was the problem I had, is because drum machines are basically terrible. And so I had to do a lot to make them not sound like what they are, because the canned drum machine sounds are generally terrible. And I think sampling is the way to go. And I don't mean samples that make it sound like a real drum kit, just that make it sound like, battleships and tanks and stuff like that.
I think that's why I really love the analog rhythm so much. It's because I have the best of both worlds. Yeah. So I've got like an analog engine, and then I can layer samples on top, or just use samples back and forth. Yeah, to me, that was a sweet spot. I mean, I looked at the MPCs at one point, at the new ones, and they look very cool. I think Danny Meyer was using MPC Live when I saw him here in Chicago the last time, which was kind of interesting because I was like, what's he got up there? That's the thing that, many of the people I'm at the club with aren't doing that I'm doing, right? Which is, what the fuck is that guy doing? What's he using?
The last time I saw him, he had a table full of gear. Right. So he's no longer the minimalist.
No, I think this particular show, I don't know, like he comes here a lot, and he did anyway. And so he didn't have much on the desk, but he sounded great.
Last time I saw him, he had a, the Roland mixer, is that the MX1?
Oh, yeah. It's a mixer and a sync box, and it does.
Yeah, it's one of those era, like, obnoxious pieces of garbage. He had that. I had a laptop, and he had I think it was a was like a little Waldorf, like a Blofeld.
The Blofeld. Yeah, when we saw him at the Fantasy, did we open up?
No,
for him
we
that
opened for
night?
Covenant when he was in there.
Yeah, that's right. And he did, but he did that Sisters of Mercy cover, and
he was doing Architect.
Because it was like, Architect. That's what it was, and it was him with like a laptop and a microphone.
Yeah,
but it was badass.
So he released that cover under ESTR, though,
he did.
right?
Yeah, he did Lucretia, My Reflection. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was super surprised by his ability to, to really, keep your attention, considering he's a laptop and a microphone.
Yeah.
So kudos to
he's
him.
using Studio One for everything, because I remember when he was when Studio kept on crashing before the Covenant show, I did tech support for him because he was running all the backing tracks off of Studio One. It was crashing. I'm like, what's going on, buddy? He's like, it's crashing. I'm like, let me take a look. There you go. Oh, thanks.
Why do you always end up doing tech support? You remember?
Because Macs are terrible.
No, who was the the guy who was in what was the band you were in the 2000s?
Filament 38.
Industrial band. What?
Filament 38. Filament 38.
Thank you.
When I had to get his audio interface working for him.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. I'm like, hey, are we gonna sound check? And you're like, yeah, I'm fixing this dude. Shit, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it was a Motu issue.
Nice
on that one. Your opponent, thanks for joining us tonight. Yeah, but yeah, he was a Studio One guy, so all the stuff was running off of that. That was fun.
So the last time I saw him, I don't know what the name of the project was. It wasn't one of the ones that he's released things under. I think he was opening up for Nitzareb.
Was that Leap Connect?
What?
Was that Leap Connect?
Oh, Leap Connect.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And he did a cover of a Daft track where he played it really kind of slow, and then it eventually morphed into, Der Mussolini. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it blew me away.
Yeah.
And that's the one where he had the table full of gear.
Yes. Yeah, he has like the Dig Attack, and I think he's the Argon 8 now too, if I remember correctly.
Nice.
And a couple other things. But yeah, Leap Connect, they've released a couple of remixes, and I think they just released an EP as well.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, anyway, they hadn't released anything.
Yeah.
This is a couple of years ago in the before times.
Mm-hmm. In the before times.
Before the Empire. So our final piece of news tonight is Glitch Lab 2021.
This looks exciting.
Yes. Kreestof, can you put a link up on this one? Because I think that some of the folks out here would be really interested in this thing if you don't know about it already.
You guys should definitely take a look at this. This might cost you £20, and if you're American, I don't know what it's going to cost.
I mean, it's 20 euros really, so it's going to be about like $25 or maybe 30 or something like that. It might even just be $20.
Yeah.
So this thing is a modular DAW for glitch and experimental music. And it's kind of weird looking. And I've not used Glitch Lab before, and maybe some of our our viewers have used it, and if so, please pipe into the chat and let us know. I just saw this thing this morning, and I did not get a chance to download it, but I'm probably going to download it tomorrow because I'm really interested to see what the fuck this thing does.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a lot of matrix modulation and lots of effects, and it's probably got lots of weird routing that you don't see in a regular DAW. And I've seen really good noise performances where it was just like two delay pedals feeding back into each other and people manipulating what was going on in them. I've tried to build that kind of stuff from Reactor, and this looks like it's kind of set up for that kind of mindset of creation, which it's hard to do that kind of thing with Cubase. Yeah. So this looks like it is good for that. So this could be amazing.
It's something a non-linear way of working with stuff. It looks like.
Yeah. And it should be easier to do that kind of stuff with this than it would say in like VCV Rec. So this could be very exciting.
I saw C-Lab every time I looked at it.
C-Lab 2021, right?
No, but I watched some demos of it on the YouTubes because I didn't download it either. But crazy stuff. I don't listen to a lot of noise stuff. I'm open to it, and you could do all kinds of weirdness with it. Even somewhat more linear stuff if you wanted to do. But the couple demos I heard, my first impression was, wait, what? And I think that's good, right? Because it's not very often that you come across something that you're like, what?
Yeah. I like what it says. I
Does
like what
less-
it says in the article here. It says workflows that you learn from YouTube tutorials are not important here. It's just trying to get things out and experimenting with signals and discovering what is possible with audio. And that's kind of cool. I really like that idea of, of sitting down and exploring the idea of sound and everything like that. And that's why I like digging into modular a lot. I'm not.
But I think the fact that it's a DAW is significant because, the DAWs are sort of the last, like we talked about DAWs at the beginning, but they are by definition conservative, right? I mean, even something like Bitwig, which is getting a little weird, or Ableton, which got a little weird like 10 years ago. These are workhorses, right? We expect them and we think about them in a very linear way. And to sort of flip the script on that, I think is cool because like you get all these weird plugins that do weird stuff and it's like, oh, weird, but you're still using it in sort of narrow context.
Right.
So I think that's cool.
You still have the timeline thing is really the thing, you could argue that the timeline did to digital audio workstations what keyboards did to synthesizers.
Yeah.
Yeah, except before we were talking about this, it does make me kind of think of the West Coast philosophy. And the key word that I picked out from what Andrew said before was exploring. Right. And that's the thing you do with modular, and it's the thing that you do with West Coast synthesis is you go down these rabbit holes of things that you didn't think of, and you just start finding them, and it takes you places that you didn't necessarily mean to go. And that's fascinating and interesting. It's ultimately very masturbatory.
Oh, absolutely.
But sometimes you get good. But sometimes you find really good stuff, and maybe you're recording it, or you can record it before it goes away. Right. And so it's just fascinating and very rewarding to do because you're discovering this stuff that no one's ever heard before, and this moment in time is going to be lost forever, and no one will ever hear it again. And that's kind of amazing, and this makes this challenges you into that kind of exploration, and that's just fascinating.
Yeah, especially if you don't want to invest a bunch of money into a Eurorack gear and stuff like that.
And cheaply.
Yeah, I mean, between VCV rack and something like this, I mean, these are definitely more exploratory kind of things and stuff like that. And I think that's an important. I really think that's an important aspect of what we do as musicians in this particular field of electronics and stuff like that, where we have the opportunity to not just explore music from a note per basis, but also from the creation of sound and the combination of things to create new sounds. And like you said, Kreestof, the whole idea of this stuff being so temporary, that sound you'll never hear it again. I think that's wonderful. I mean, that's one of my favorite things ever. I mean, Justin and I started an entire band based around the fact that we'll never have the same song twice because every time we do this, it's going to be completely different and we don't know where it's going to go. And that's fine. I remember the first time we did it and I just walked over and shut everything off and Justin's like, you didn't save any of it. And I'm like, that's the idea, buddy.
Yeah, that was hard for me because I will admit that I'm not in that kind of experimental person. I try to experiment, but I'm a very linear thinker. But I appreciate that stuff a lot. I think it's
also, you can do both. You can explore it, you can record it, and then have it for later. You don't have to throw it away, but both are valid. But still, just that, when I use modular synthesis, I often know where I'm planning to go before I start. But sometimes you wind up going places you didn't expect, and that's the joy of synthesis.
Absolutely.
And I love it.
Yeah, to me, happy accidents are the best. To me, like, because sometimes I can go in with an intention, and I don't have a modular rig, but when I do play with modular or semi-modular, to me, back to your exploration point, that's it. It's the like, hey, I just was tweaking knobs, doing something weird. I found something that I totally didn't anticipate, and now I'm going to riff on that. And I think that's super cool.
I have no modular hardware. I only have modular software.
Same difference. I mean, it's the same mentality, right?
Mostly. I mean, some people really need the tactile. I don't. But there are advantages to having tactile. Like I've got a bunch of Moog clones in software, and the way I play my Behringer Moog is completely different. And because I can twist two knobs at the same time, which I can't do on the computer.
Right.
And twist it too. It's like, so like I've done stuff that I never would have thought of, and you have to do it this way. And it was so rewarding. It's like, this was money well spent.
Right.
So, but I mean, yeah, I could map controllers. I just hadn't thought of it. So they're both valid, but yeah, I think it's important also that people know, like, you don't have to invest $1,000 or $20,000 of gear. There's cheap software and free software that you can use and explore with and find fascinating, really rewarding experiences with.
VCV is still free, right?
Still free, and it just gets better and better.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and there's just so much amazing stuff for it. And it's working better now too. Like it's better at playing nice with other things than it used to be. So yeah, it's great.
And even like some of the semi-modular pieces of hardware that are pretty affordable as well. I mean, it's not going to be VCV cheap, but you know, for a couple $100 you can get, you know, some used stuff that works great, like the Make Noise No Coast, which is just a fantastic all-in-one little semi-modular synthesizer. And the way that Make Noise designs their stuff is that everything is a little bit occult on the cover. So you don't exactly look at it at first glance and understand what it does, but you really want to discover what it does on your own.
That's how I feel a lot about a lot of the Buchla stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's weird.
But unlike the Buchla stuff, you can get you can get a sound out of this thing a lot faster than you can the Buchla stuff. But
it's got a picture of a banana next to it. I'm not sure what it does, but I'll just...
It needs more banana.
Kind of like troubleshooting how to work in like the original interfaces on all the Own Boys plugins. It's like, oh no, there's a spaceman.
Your opponent says that we need a VCV MIDI controller.
Well, I mean, you can adapt. I mean, doesn't it work with MIDI?
Yeah, you can just MIDI learn. Yeah.
You remember those Korg MS-20 MIDI controllers?
Yeah, I have one.
You had one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Laying around your studio. Yeah, I mean, if that's what they're thinking, like, you mean like a modular MIDI?
Oh, now I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the stories that we killed for this week too. Was the new DX7 controller?
Oh yeah, that's just like all the knobs for a bunch of a knob box for the DX7. That looks just
we
as
got 4
confusing.
minutes, guys. Let's do it.
All right, so I'll tackle it really quick. So the DX7 is really hard to program because you only have one slider, and this allows you access to all the knobs at the same time. And I'll tell you that if you can, so I've mapped multiple knobs on an FM synth. Like I have a controller that has 8 knobs, and I've mapped those to ratios and depth for an FM synth, and you could do real sonic exploration that way. And FM is amazing, and you can do things with FM you can't do with anything else. And it's so much easier when you have a controller. The difficulty of FM is that almost all of it, it has infinite possibilities, but almost all of them are useless. So you have to dial in that 1% that is useful.
I totally agree.
But when you can get that 1% in, it's like you can get some stuff that so on my second band, we had an FM synth that was the Yamaha B200, which is like a modified TX81Z. And my friends' bands, they had all this analog gear, or they had virtual analogs like the Kurzweil, which people weren't calling a virtual analog, but it does. And they just couldn't figure out how we got these sounds. It's because they didn't have anything that did FM. And FM has a sharpness, and it could do these metallic tones that you really can't do well with these other things. But yeah, that's how you get a lot of the crazy industrial bass or drum and bass sounds. Or the Skrillex sounds, it's FM.
Yeah.
Like his favorite synth is the FM8. And you need, so it's really hard to dial that stuff in. And with these controllers, you can do it. Now, the only knob controller like this went out of production years ago. So they go for many thousands now, and there's not that many of them. Or they were custom built, so they go for $20,000. So this company's come out with one. It's over $1,200. But if you're an FM guy, this is totally worth it. I'm planning to get a Behringer BCR 2000 knob controller.
I have 2 of those.
It comes out, and it won't have enough knobs, but it'll have knobs at least, so that I could adjust at least 2 operators together and just find some of those crazy tones that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have the BCR 2000, the first edition versions of those, and I use it with the Roland Alpha Juno because that controls the interface on that thing is garbage, and it actually makes it useful. Yeah. So definitely.
And interface is such an important, aspect of synthesis.
It really is. And your opponent's talking about having board of 1/8" inputs instead of knobs, just like wires and stuff like that. And that's what Justin was saying about the MS-20 controller. One of the fun things about that is that they made it so, like the MS-20 controller that with the software is it had patch points, and when you plugged them in, they would plug in on the software as well. And they even did that with the iPad version of the MS-20 as well. So if you had this MS-20 controller, you can plug in your patch bay, and you can use the patch cables and stuff like that physically, and it would work the same way on the software. And I thought that was really clever, and I know that no one's ever done that ever since then, really, is do that kind of thing. I think they ended up taking all the extra MS-20 boxes that they didn't sell and turning them into those MS-20 mini synths.
It was a scale. Was it like 2/3 scale or something?
Yeah, it was like they had the mini keys and everything like that. I didn't really use it outside of using it with the MS-20 app on the iPad. And then, even then it was just kind of like, that's kind of a cool little shtick. Look at what it can do. But, whatever. In the end, it was just another kind of controller that was sitting around that didn't really do much outside of that whole one-trick pony thing. But it had like the knob per function, and it had the patch point, the patch bay, and it came with little patch cables. You plugged them in, and it would show up on the app. It was brilliant.
And again, you get that tactile response for programming.
And that's the thing.
And the MS-20 is a very capable and interesting synth, so that's really helpful.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the MS-20 app that was on the iPad was also really, really cool too, and it was really, really, mind blowing.
Does that still work?
Yeah.
All right, because I know like there were some other iPad apps that no longer exist that I used to own, so I can't run them.
Oh yeah, because they still have. I'm looking at my iPad right now, and I still have the MS-20 on here. I have the Poly 6 on here. I have the Waldorf Nave, the Model 15 that Moog did, and Moog's iPad software is probably some of the best music creation software ever. Because they had this.
I remember Animoog.
Yeah, the Animoog is amazing.
That was their first.
And one of the things is that one of the guys who developed it's also the guy who developed a lot of the MPE control software for the Linstrument and the Rolly Seaboard. So he put MPE capability into all the Moog software, and it was kind of like a little Easter egg. So if you plug in one of those things, because like when you and I did the first Ambient Festival, I was just using the Animoog, and I was using my Linstrument to control it, and it was doing all this weird, crazy shit because it all had the MPE ability in it and stuff like that. But yeah, so those are still, the IMS-20, the iElectribe that they put out, all that shit still works with the latest version of iPad OS. Even
my favorite is the I think it's like iSpark. I think it's called. It's like the little mini Spark on a stick. Yep. And it actually works with the Sparkle controller.
Right?
Pretty cool.
I like that remember we're going off on tangents, imagine that. Remember the Yamaha Tenori On?
No.
It was like this weird, ugly little box that just lit up, and you were able to it was like a weird sequencer. And they made they stopped making it a couple years ago, but they made the software version of it, and that's not going to show up at all, is it?
Oh yeah. You showed this to me before.
Yeah. So they have the iPad version of it. It's the exact same thing as the Tenori On, and you can still play it. And I'm sorry, the camera brightness is too bright for folks, the viewers at home, but still, cool stuff.
So I have a tangent.
Yeah.
Has Yamaha ever made anything that looked good?
The motorcycles.
Yeah, good motorcycles.
Their saxophones.
Okay, I would debate that the AN1X didn't look terrible.
But the interface is what killed it.
Yeah, it didn't look
terrible. If they put
terrible.
more knobs or more sliders on it, it would have been just as big as the JP8000. I have an AN1X. I love it. I love its sound engine. It's one of the best virtual analogs.
For sure.
The fact that I've got a menu dive to control what the knobs are going to do, that's why nobody bought it. And that's why the JP8000 is the most beloved virtual analog, and people are going to be paying like $5,000 for it in 10 years. And the AN1X is just not going to skyrocket in value. And it's because Yamaha hates their customers and interfaces.
It's true.
They hate them. They hate their sad lives. No, but it's true.
No, I'm an engineer. I understand it. That's all we need. So they just don't think about usability
Well,
at
the
all. ever.
CS80.
Okay, I'll give you that. So since
No,
then,
ever
though.
since
Okay,
they went
okay,
downhill
but
from
wait,
there.
wait. Are we talking pure aesthetics or usability?
Yes.
Because we sort of
No,
jumped
I
the
was
track.
talking
Because
about like what looks good because they make
Yeah.
ugly synths. I have a bunch of Yamaha synths. I've
Right.
got the TG33. I've got
Yeah.
the TG77. I've got the AN1X, and I have the RM50. I mean, yeah, I mean, so yeah, for the rack mount, is it a black metal box? Good. I mean, but
Yeah.
outside of that, but the synths and everything, it's just all ugly. So they've never made
Yeah.
anything that people are like, oh, that looks good.
yeah, it's a good point. I can't think.
Nobody
off the
wants
top-
a Yamaha themed cake.
Well, they did that DX7 look they had going on. So even their drum machines in the late '80s all had that
Yeah.
same look.
Yeah, it's
Well,
terrible.
their studio monitors are nice
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah, we have the
Yeah, the
HS8s. We both have
SH8s
those.
look nice.
All right,
you know?
yeah.
But you can't really fuck
No,
that
I mean
up, dude.
it's
I mean,
it's a wolf and a tweeter.
unless they put a bunch of like membrane panels on the side of it.
Try to program it
I mean,
now.
Fuck with it.
Example, your Prophet 5, beautiful. The Jupiter, the JP8000, great. The TR909, great. Yamaha, nope, ugly.
Yeah. Weird.
The Roland TR what is that? The TB3, ugly.
Yeah.
Worst interface in the world. Fucking hate it. Again, black eye to Roland. I hate Roland.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I own any Yamaha.
No, Roland does have a lot of misses too. The SH32, ugly.
The
but
entire
they've
Era
also put out
line
a
is
lot of
fucking
pieces.
ugly as shit. I'm sorry.
The Ira line, like the System 1, the System 8 with the green
Yeah.
LEDs. Yeah, that's history is not going to judge those
No,
well.
and
Yeah.
they made. I mean, granted, the TR8 and the TR8S, those are modern classics, and a lot of people use them and stuff like that. And a lot of people love
They're
them.
really functional, but
But the
they're ugly.
TB3, fucking horrible. I would use it as to serve sushi to people instead of using it as a synth.
yeah.
Because I hate
And
it.
I hate the 303 to begin with, so I'm never going to be a fan.
Yeah. The System 8 is nice, but the colors are horrendous. And it sounds good. The keyboard sucks. It doesn't have aftertouch, which seems like a crazy.
Yeah, it's a terrible
Yeah.
feel.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, Roland gear generally, I'm going to shit on Roland for a little bit because it's that time of the night. Roland gear generally feels like cheap to me.
Well, the Aero stuff for sure is fucking
Yeah, well, I
plastic,
mean,
man. Like,
felt the 303 felt like shit too because it was plastic. I mean, a lot of that stuff is.
Yeah, all of my Roland gear is it's either drums and I broke those because they're wood inside, and because I
Yeah.
hit them in the industrial way, you can snap that
yeah.
wood. So it's either that or it's rack mount gear, which is all the same looking. Actually, I got a bunch of Boss drum machines, but they're just drum machines.
Well, I remember when I was in film in '38, we had a set of the Roland, those Roland rubbery drum pads.
Yeah, so I've got the triangle ones.
Yeah, they were the triangle ones, and
Actually, I have the triangle ones and I have the round ones from the TD7.
and we had to bust them open because the sensors broke, so we had to go to Radio Shack and buy new doorbell sensors to replace them with, and glue them onto the fucking wooden pads.
Yeah,
Are those the piezo
Yeah.
ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can use those, but the problem for mine was the wood actually snapped, so I had to replace the piece of wood. Or
Oh, yeah.
you can use like wood glue. And
Yeah,
that'll
we
do
had
it,
wood
too.
glue one together because Adam played them really hard, and I remember that we had to get him aluminum drumsticks because he would break he would go through 16 sticks per show, and then we had to
Wow.
get him gloves because he was ripping his hands apart we had 3 of those things, and so he was playing kick, hi-hat, and snare with his hands.
All right.
And
Is he still
yeah.
alive?
He's a really good drummer.
How's his carpal tunnel syndrome?
Right. And so, and then it was all like, 160 BPM EBM music. So he was playing really, really fast and everything like that. And so we got him, we decked him out as best we could. Then he started breaking the drums. And these things were, rolling garbage. So we had to go and, wood glue them back together or put a new doorbell sensor in them and shit like that. It was just stupid, but yeah.
So that was something they really fixed with the V
Yes,
drums.
the V drums were great.
Yeah.
I had some for a bit. Yeah,
They
I ended
are,
up selling them
because
to Adam, so he does a lot lighter touch.
It's a much more natural feel, and it does not give you carpal
Yep.
tunnel. I don't have them, but I wish I had those instead of all the pads that I have.
I had a set of like 4 of them. I sold them to Adam, so that way he didn't have to use those horrible other pads. I think the only good piece of Roland gear that I have is probably the 521 filter module.
Okay.
Yeah, in my modular setup, and that's about it because it sounds like because it's got that that nasally Roland filter.
Okay. I have a JV1010 and I love it. I also have the Roland MVS1, which is the vintage synth card in a standalone box.
Oh yeah.
And I love that too.
I had a JP8000 for a while, but I didn't get along with it very well.
I never had the JP8000, but I wish I had that interface for my Yamaha AN1X.
I have the MS2000, and this I like the interface on the MS2K so much better than the JP8000 because it's like, oh, there's knobs that actually it's just less the menu diving and.
Many times it's a pain in the ass, and I'm just so used to it. But that's what I hate about
a lot of your gear is menu diving to fucking back.
It's not immediate.
Yeah. DJ, nothing.
Didn't Lauren from Gave Image have a GP8000? He picked one up towards the end there.
He picked one up toward the ends, like when he was doing his solo stuff. I think he had that because he had the Kurzweil K2000 for a long time. That was his main piece of kit. And the Amiga 500 because he had the Amiga 500 and they.
Oh, I remember the whole Amiga. Oh yeah, thing. The whole Amiga, and, the Amiga wars.
Yep. I remember when he was recording, they were recording their album, and he refused to use MIDI because my band used MIDI, and so they did all that sequencing and shit by hand.
Well,
what the fuck, people? I don't understand.
Good luck with all that.
I don't know. It's like, what?
Although I do understand like Vince Clarke keeping all analog and CV because the timing is so much better.
Yeah, agreed.
If you
struggle with timing.
You also have to have an infinite amount of money to support an all analog system. But he has a
vintage analog system especially.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Actitect, I'm just as dumbfounded about the MIDI statement as anybody.
Well, that was like a strangely personal vendetta.
Yeah, it was this weird competitive thing he had, and I could never quite understand it. Like, well, we don't want to sound like you guys, and you guys use MIDI, so we're not going to use MIDI. I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
You know what? I think a lot of people still think general MIDI and general MIDI sound sets when they think of MIDI, and they don't realize it's just a control protocol. And they never get past that, so they just don't get it.
Well, no, he got it, but he didn't want to use it. And so, like, when they were recording their album, he would not let them like MIDI sync anything together or anything like that, and they had to go back and sync things, and they wouldn't let them. He would use a sequencer that's built into his keyboard, but he wouldn't MIDI it to anything. So everyone else had to do everything by hand.
That's some Class A spite there.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Well, it was weird.
Did you have sex with his mom?
What's that? I don't even remember what I did, but I didn't have sex with his mom.
No, so there was
not his mom.
There was like 4 bands that were 4 or 5, 6 of us, right? And they got signed to Jevon Records, right? And they thought that was like a big deal for them. And there was this sort of
Jevon Records is a little Cleveland. It's like a Nick Studios, basically.
Yeah, sure. But they use that as I don't know. How should I put this? They had a certain type of appeal, and they knew it, and they were sort of cashing in on that, and that was fine. But it was weird though because there was competition and then there wasn't, because I felt like it was very fluid. Like it was like my band, your band, Mike, Tex Speaks bands, and I never felt like competitive or weird, or I never talked trash about anybody, and I thought that was kind of a weird thing. I don't really know. With that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I just look back at it and it's a funny ass story. That's how I think about it at this point. I'm like, MIDI's evil, MIDI bad. Okay,
It's cutting off your nose to spite your face, right?
Like MIDI slop is bad, but MIDI's
exactly
great.
Actitect. It's like using chromatic scale because someone else does. Makes the same amount of sense.
Come on, man. Come up with your own tuning, man.
Yeah, right?
Be different.
Micro-tune this shit.
Dare to be different. Microtones, man.
Yeah.
plastics, the wave of the future.
Oh yeah, the new microtone is definitely the polyrhythms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to playing with the polyrhythms and the subharmonicons starting tomorrow.
You could do really interesting things with a subharmonica. My friend Jeff uses it all the time, and yeah, I think it's a constant source of discovery for him.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what that bad boy does. I know a couple folks in the guild have a subharmonicon, so
it's weird. The more somebody explains it, the less I understand it. But I think if you use it, it eventually clicks.
I got the gist of how the whole thing works from watching Loopop's video the other night. So let's hope that works. But I'm sure that'll go over my head real quick.
Check out my new ASMR buddy, that Tim Schubridge guy, which we didn't get a chance to noodle with this time. Maybe we'll talk about it
next time. And I also need to explore of the wave state and report back.
Yeah, he does a whole subharmonicon thing that's like an hour long. So if you're looking for a way to waste time, check it out.
Or take a nap.
Yeah, telling you, man, that guy will put anybody to sleep.
Speaking of falling asleep, it is well past our time to quit for the night. We've been yammering for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Tangents. Everybody on here, I think, the humans and the robots are probably tired of listening to us. So thank you all for listening. We're going to be coming back online in 2 weeks. Nobody won the album because nobody entered the album for it. So, fuck y'all. Thanks, Kreestof. See, that wasn't hard, was it? I think you have it already, so I'm not going to give it to you.
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No, I only have the future.
Okay, you win. I'll send it to you. Congratulations, Kreestof. You won. So we'll be back in 2 Wednesdays from now, which will plant us firmly into April. And we'll be reporting more about whatever the hell we feel like talking about. So
news events that have come up.
Yeah.
Things that are getting released. New conventions, whatever they're going to talk about at Atomin.
Exactly. We might even talk about, what the weather's like. Who knows? Let's go off on whatever. Kreestof, Justin, always a pleasure, gents.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Sure. My pleasure.
Thanks,
Have
good
a
to see you,
night,
Kreestof.
everybody.
Good to see you.